Hey everyone, Scott here, and this is my Insta360 GO 3. Now, this was an awesome camera. I got this in, I think, the second half of 2023. This thing came out in early 2023, and I had to have it. With this detachable lens and the way that it looked, I thought this thing was just so cool. And it's beeping at me right now as I'm doing this, but I just had to have this thing. It was an impulse buy, even though I knew that the resolution wasn't all that good. It was just too cool to resist. So I got it. I used it for about a year and a half, lightly. I actually used it less than I thought I would, which I'll explain in the following list of pros and cons, all the reasons why. But anyway, overall, I think it's going to be a great camera for most people, but it just wasn't for me. The first pro, by far, is the way that it looks. The fact that it's all white. I know some of you were hoping that I would say that the video quality is the first pro, but no. I'm going to say that the way that this looks, being all white like this, makes it very unique, and it's different than all of the other action cameras that are on the market. Every GoPro that I've ever had has been black, gray, very simple, not very good looking, if I'm being honest, but this is really, really cool. And it was one of the things that drew me to it in the first place. A con is the way that it looks. Now, an action camera, I think, needs to be inconspicuous. It needs to be, I don't want to say it should be chameleon-like, but it should blend in. You don't always want people to know that you're recording video. You want it to blend into the background. You want it to be not so noticeable all the time, because if you're recording video in a crowded area, recording video makes people nervous. Taking pictures makes people nervous. And being all white like this makes it stand out. People are going to see it from a mile away, and maybe that's not always such a good thing. A pro, battery life. This thing, I'm really surprised. It's an internal battery. And unlike the GoPro, you cannot take the battery out of this. It's fixed, but it lasted quite well. Again, I didn't use this thing really hard. I was always shooting in the maximum resolution, taking the highest quality pictures, not for very long, like maybe an hour at the most. And I never once ran out of battery power. It kept on going. It did get a little hot though. Maybe that's a con as well, but overall, it's really nice. A pro would be the fact that just like the battery, it's all internal. You cannot put an SD card in this. It's in the camera, nothing to worry about in terms of buying extra SD cards and fitting them into the slot, or changing out SD cards, or having SD card slot doors that allow dust and water and moisture in. It's all internal, which is nice. However, the con to that is you can only buy this camera, or this Insta360 GO 3 only came in several memory amounts, flavors, or whatever you want to call it. This is the 64 gigabyte version. That's what I went with, and it wasn't enough. There was a 128 gigabyte version as well, but that was a little bit too spendy for me. I didn't think that I would need that much storage space, but thinking back on it, yeah, I definitely would have went with the larger amount. 64 gigs is just not enough, and there's no way, I'm stuck with this. There's no way that I can upgrade this to get more storage space, so the way I bought it was the way that I was stuck with it for its entire life, at least its life with me. Something else that I like is the fact that it's, they don't say it's waterproof, but it is very, very well water resistant. With these buttons here, they're very well sealed, and the microphones and the inputs, except for this USB charging port here on the side, that is exposed. That is why it's not waterproof, but it is generally water resistant, which is really, really cool. A con would be the way that it looks. Again, bright white is cool. However, being an action camera, this is something that you're going to be using outdoors mostly. I would assume most people would be using it outdoors like this. And it's going to get dirty. You're going to be using it out on the trail, on your bike, on a boat, in your race car, or whatever. And it's going to get grimy and dirty. I had a really hard time fending off fingerprints and smudge marks. It wipes off pretty clean though. I guess that's a pro. But the fact that I always had to be careful about mucking this thing up and keeping it clean, that was definitely not a good thing. A pro, obviously, at least for me, was this flip-up camera, something that other action cameras don't have, especially the GoPro. It's nice because you can point the camera at yourself, or at least in your direction, and then you can see what you're recording. As I turn it on here, wait for it to power up, you can use this in ways that you can't use a GoPro. So you can see me recording here. And anything that the camera sees while facing forward, you can see very clearly holding it like this, which makes it an excellent vlogging camera. Not everything about this flip-up screen is all that great, though. One of the cons is the fact that it requires two hands to retract. You can do it with one hand. You can put it back with one hand like this, but getting it out or retracting it, you cannot do with one hand. And I'm trying to do it right here. I'm holding my phone with the other hand, and I can't quite get this open one-handed. It's just not going to happen. So that's definitely a con. I mean, for an action camera, you would think that you're going to be out doing things. You're going to be active. You're going to have hands tied up, and you're not going to be able to use both hands at the same time always. So not being able to get the screen up one-handed is a con. A definite pro about this thing is this retractable camera or detachable camera. The lens here, that's a very unique idea and a very unique selling point of the Insta360 GO 3. So the way that it works is you detach this little lens here, stick it to something metallic, and then you take this base unit with you with this preview screen, and then you can preview what the lens is seeing through this preview screen from a distance of about, I don't know, 10 to 15 feet. And that was a con, I think. I couldn't quite get that far away from the camera or the lens with this base unit before it lost connection. It's a Bluetooth connection, and it just didn't have that much range, which was kind of frustrating. Both a pro and a con would be the way that this lens retracts. What you do is you hold down this button here on the side to release the latch, and then you can dig out the lens with your finger or your fingernail or whatever. So it's very secure. It's not going to fall out. Even when you hold down the latch or the button there, it's not going to fall out. It's very, very tight. So that is a pro. The con is that it is really hard to get out. And again, I can't do this one-handed. I'm going to have to put the camera down, dig this thing out, and yeah, well, let's do that right now. Okay, through the magic of video editing, I've got it out, and my finger hurts from doing that. It is really, really tight. I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, the magnets are tight. You're not gonna have to worry about weak magnets and a weak connection. It's gonna stay put, but just know that you're not going to be able to do it one-handed. So that's definitely a drawback. It's kind of neat though. The lens is very small, as you see, the detachable lens. You can stick it to anything. There's the magnet on the back. It's very easy to stick to other things. It's not going to be an issue. So yeah. One major con about the Insta360 GO 3 is the fact that it does not shoot 4K. Now, I knew that going into this. I shoot 4K video for everything. I like the highest resolution possible, and it almost put me off from buying this thing. I wasn't really sure that I wanted to get it simply because it just didn't shoot that high. But I thought, you know, with this detachable lens, that might make up for the lack of resolution, and I could probably still have fun with it. I could still have a use for it, but in reality, that didn't happen that way. I hardly ever use this thing because I couldn't shoot in 4K. That is definitely a con. And again, I knew that before purchasing this. And that was my own fault. I mean, I knew its limitations going into it, and it just, honestly, it just didn't work out for me. Another pro would be the software that comes with this, the bundled software. Actually, it's software that you download once you get this thing. And it's so easy to use, so intuitive, and you can take the footage from this thing and crop it and slice it into many different formats for social media. You could easily create shorts with this thing, full resolution YouTube videos, images, whatever. That software makes it extremely easy. So overall, I got to say that this just wasn't for me. It's a really cool looking camera. It looks great. It performs great. And it's a solid unit. Again, that's another pro, I think. It's solid. It's unlike my GoPro. This feels like a solid chunk of metal. It's got some weight to it. It feels premium. It looks premium. But because it wasn't high resolution, it just wasn't the camera for me.